Great. So I'm Haley, and I'm the social media manager at Saddleback Church, and I work on our central marketing and communications team. And people are like, so what does that mean? What do you do? And we have people giving tours of our office to volunteers all the time. And one of the guys is like, oh, this is the Twitter girl for Saddleback. And I'm like, okay, God, I clearly needed that humbling moment today. So I just nodded off and let them walk by, because it's so much more than being the Twitter girl for the church. What I do is I run all the main brand channels for Saddleback Church. I'm going to use some businessy language along with churchy language, so stick with me here. I run all the main brand channels for the church, and then I oversee our strategy and policy at our 10 regional campuses and 4 international campuses. So it's a great job, and my team of me do it. So yeah. And here I have my intern for the summer, Michaela, here in the front row. She's here from TCU, so you can come and ask her questions. It's her second day. So what is a transformative strategy? So let's think about this. What is strategy? We'll just hop right in. Strategy is a plan of action designed to achieve an overall aim. So when you step back and think, when I'm posting to my social media channels for my church, for my organization, for my business, what am I aiming for? One of the number one things I see when I'm looking at other churches in the area and just scouting it out is that it doesn't look like they're aiming for anything. They're just posting, or they're just sharing all the wonderful ministry events at their church. And if you go to Saddleback, we have over 500 ministries, so we could be posting plenty of ministry opportunities all day long. But that's not gonna drive traffic or engagement, and we're all about engagement at Saddleback. So we have an overall aim and strategy. Transformation, the definition is a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. And I like the synonyms: change, alteration, conversion, transfiguration. And this led me to think, I want to share with you a strategy that can hopefully transform how you do social media, but more importantly, transform the people that are coming to your channels, transform their lives. We have the best material to offer them. We have God's love, and the fact that we have a Redeemer and Savior who died on the cross for them. We should be the best at giving this message through our social channels. So how can we transform their lives? Pastor Rick said during one of our series, Transformed Lives, "You will not experience transformation until you become dissatisfied with your current reality." I love grabbing those little nuggets. I think God sent me to Saddleback because I love Twitter, and Pastor Rick speaks and tweets. So it's like a perfect union. But what is that current reality that you have? And are you satisfied with it? Or is there something that's you're like, I know this isn't right. I'm a little dissatisfied, and I'm going to do something. So what's your current reality? And for some of us, it's a lack of purpose. And yes, this was very intentional. I learned I could swing it upside down by doing a 180. So I did. And I think that is intentional, putting a lack of purpose upside down. We have a lack of purpose and focus on what we're aiming for. And so we're not seeing ROI, or return on influence, on our channels, and so we think they don't work. I'm not seeing return on Twitter, so I'm gonna get off of Twitter. And I hear this so much, and I love Twitter, so that makes me kind of sad. For me, Twitter's like surfing. I'm gonna go surfing after this session, which I'm so stoked about. But surfing is, you have to paddle out to take a wave. And right when you think you have the wave, you have to paddle a couple more times harder and hop on, and then you can ride. And everybody gives up on social channels right before those last 2 really hard paddles, and then ride the wave. So I just want to encourage you, it's hard. Social media management is hard. It's a lot of work. And I work with a lot of ministry volunteers who want to have a presence for their ministry, and that's great. But their job is to run a ministry. And my job is to teach them how to use their channels to be the best advocate for their ministry on their own channels. They don't have time to be fighting Facebook's algorithm, or maybe even paddling on Twitter if it's not gonna work for them. Our job is to teach them the best tools, and so strategy helps us do that. So every post should have a purpose. I was talking to my boss about this talk, and he was like, probably mention that. because I kind of said it to him in passing, and I was like, it's so cheesy because Saddleback is purpose-driven, but it's so true. Every post should have a purpose. If you're posting something just to get something up, is that the best use of your time? But better yet, is that the best use of your community's time? Saddleback, we're purpose-driven, so we do everything based on these 5 purposes of evangelism, worship, ministry, fellowship, and discipleship. And our social strategy is there to complement the 5 purposes of our church. So what is that mission statement or purpose statement you guys have for your church or organization? And how can a social strategy come alongside that and lift that up? Well, we have a target, and if you're not familiar with this is our concentric circles at Saddleback Church. And for our social media channels, my job is to take people from our community that surrounds our church locations into the crowd, which is our weekend attenders, and then into the congregation. The congregation are those that are a little more invested in coming every weekend. They could start to become a member, but may not necessarily be members, but they call Saddleback Church their home. So I know my job is to go from community to congregation, and I stop. The rest of it, I hand off to people like Jay Cranda, who's our online campus pastor, or some of our other pastors on staff. That's their job. But my job, my focus is from community straight through to congregation. And that's what our social strategy is designed to do. So what is your purpose on social media? Maybe take this down on a notepad, think about it a little bit, and really think what am I doing? Some ways that you can do that a little better, I think, is to know your community. Who are you targeting, and which social media platforms are they on? I get asked all the time, do I need to get on Pinterest? Do I need to get on Google+? And then I ask people, who are you trying to reach? And they're like, oh, everybody. It's that's a really nice thought, but the reality is you're not gonna reach everybody. You're gonna reach a certain kind of person. Think about the people who come to your church. It's not necessarily everybody. There's a majority of some type of person, and maybe that's who you're communicating to. Maybe that's who you're reaching. But know who that community is and which platforms that they're on, and then get on those platforms. This was, I've never found this to be more true, when we started launching international locations, and then I became head of social strategy that had to be what is the word I'm looking for? Multicultural. So this is kind of hard to see up here, but this is an image for our campus in Berlin, and over there is one in Buenos Aires. And when we were working through our social strategy, we found that the channel that the most people in all these countries were on was Facebook. So it's easy to say every regional campus in Southern California can have a Facebook fan page, but to say that every international location should have a fan page as well is a little more difficult without doing your homework. So we wanted to say everyone has a fan page and Twitter account. Well, when I talked to the pastor who is launching the Berlin campus, he's like, well, our German words are too big for tweets, so no one here uses Twitter. And that was just something that I had never thought about. So who are we trying to reach? People in Berlin, and what channels are they on? They were not on Twitter. But in Buenos Aires, they love Twitter. So they're like, can we have a Twitter account and do Argentinian Spanish? And I was like, yeah, great. It's a little harder to monitor for me, but yeah, they're on it and they love Twitter. So just know who you're trying to reach and where you can find those people and what platforms that they're on. And then know how to speak with your community. Notice I say how to speak with your community. It is a conversation. You're not speaking at them. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for one reason. Listening is twice as important as speaking. So I want you to think about that. I'm not just speaking with my community, but I'm listening to them. That should be built into your social strategy, especially as a church. We're here to meet people's needs. And if you're not listening, how do you know what their needs are? So do the words that you choose to speak, are they speaking to you or are they speaking to your target? This is something else that I have to work with a lot with our interns or some new staff volunteers who are running our regional campus channels. It's really easy to post and just get in your groove, and you're like, I'm online and I'm on social, so I know how to do this. But speaking on behalf of your church, or as I like to say, like the Saddleback voice, is a little more difficult, and you have to really like take off your personal hat and put on the Saddleback brand hat, or put on your church's hat, and know like, what is that voice, and is it tailored to who I'm speaking to, and are these words coming out of my mouth or from the church? This is a picture from when we launched our campus in South Manila last year. They have made up their own marketing communications team out there. They have great volunteers. And they came up with this campaign leading up to launch called Only Love. Does anybody know or can guess what that means?
Unlimited?
Well, you're Filipina. How does that work? Yes, you're right. Yeah, she was there at the launch. So yes, it means unlimited love. When I saw that the first time, I had no idea what it meant. I think I read it uni love, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But yeah, only love, unlimited. So Filipinos have their own way of speaking, and they shorten words up, and it's just part of their culture. And so they knew who they were speaking, who they were trying to reach, and they wanted that message when they launched to be about, we are the place where you can find unlimited love. I love that coming from the church. We ended up using this campaign also with our campuses here, and we had to explain it to some of them. This is unlimited love. Our tiny little photo wall back there that was way too small for this photo shoot. But it was really cool because we got to get all of our campuses involved in this social strategy, and they ended up getting some like gold balloons with numbers counting down from 30 to 1 of the day of the launch, and just taking them from all different locations and different members of their community in Manila and getting everyone involved in social. So the next thing is know how you want your community to feel. How do you want them to feel? After leaving your social channels, does your target feel served, or do they feel sold? It kind of hurts. Do they feel served, or do they feel sold? Am I posting content that is valuable to them and meeting their needs and serving them? Or am I just selling them on the next donut Sunday or the next ministry meeting on Friday night? We can do that for days, but we're not serving them and meeting their needs. So think about that. Am I serving them, or am I selling them? Maya Angelou said, people don't always remember what you say or even what you do, but they will always remember how you made them feel. I love that. A couple weeks ago, we got this tweet on our account, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. The lady says, dear dude with the @Saddleback bumper sticker reading, you matter to God, who ran me off the road. I don't think you really believe that I matter to God. So this is why some people at church should never have license plate frames or bumper stickers that say they're a Christian when they don't always drive or act like one. As much as that kind of like was shocking to read, I was really glad that she reached out to us, because that gave us an opportunity to respond to her and to make things right. And so we just responded, hey Tammy, we're so sorry about your experience. We really do want you to know that you matter to God and to Saddleback Church. And then she responded, God bless you too, thanks. And we followed her back. But she didn't have to respond back at all. I wouldn't be too happy. But knowing that we had that opportunity to kind of try to set the record straight, it like brought comfort to me. So when you're building a transformative social strategy, the 3 things to remember, little review: know your community, know how to speak with them, and now how you want them to feel. I really love that last point, how you want them to feel. So at Saddleback, we are one church, many locations. And like I said earlier, when I first had to write this social strategy, it was really just for the Lake Forest, the main campus. And then we started sprouting off other campuses, and it had to fit like a regional area, which is not that big of a deal, but then it had to fit a global audience, which I had a minute where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is gonna work. But luckily, this social strategy that I'm going to share with you that we use, I gleaned from my time in seminary. We had a New Testament read through each book of the New Testament twice. which is a lot to do when you're working full time. So I listened in audio to one and then read another version of the Bible. But I really looked at the ministry of Jesus, and it really hit me in John chapter 4 when Jesus met with a Samaritan woman at the well. And so that's where our strategy comes from, that story, if you're familiar with it. But I would go back and look at it and see how Jesus connects with her. And you see it a lot in his ministry as well too. So the first part of our strategy, it's a 3-part strategy, is connect. And that's just engaging with people because we care about people first. When I first took over the job from Jay, our Twitter handle was "You Matter to God," just like that license plate frame. And I thought, well, if this is our Twitter handle right now until we acquire Saddleback, we really should be showing and communicating that each member of our social community matters to God and matters to us. And that's really hard to do at a megachurch with a staff of 1. But I like to aim high, and I'm like, yes, we're gonna do it because we want people to know they matter to God. So engagement is a key priority in the first part of our strategy. What does this look like? Backwards. Here are just a couple posts that we use for our social channels that help us engage with our community. The first one is a community prayer post. I kind of change the image every week to keep things fresh. Sometimes it's a picture, sometimes it's a picture with text and copy. But once a week, we ask our community to post their prayer on Facebook, and then we ask them to like or comment on somebody else's prayer to let them know that they've prayed for them. So this was a great way to encourage our community to get involved in caring for each other. And that kind of took some of the load off of my back. At first I started doing it all myself, and I would actually really pray for all of them. And then I started copying and pasting sections to different pastors on staff and sending them off, hoping that they prayed for them. I hope they did. And then I started thinking maybe we can get our community involved in this. And it was generating a lot of likes, comments, and shares, a lot of comments. But before I knew it, I started to see the first post on there having 40 likes. 40 different people from our community prayed for this lady. And then now I'm starting to see even more comments of someone saying I also struggle with mental health. This is something that you're not alone in. And they're encouraging each other and they're coming back. And one of the coolest ones a few weeks ago was a lady that said, I was at the end of my rope and I posted for prayer for a job. And a week later, God provided and our prayers worked. She said our prayers worked. And so I loved that she just felt this is a place she could come to for community and for prayer, and that God answered her prayer. So community prayer is a post we do. The top right, just a fun little thing Pastor Rick said from the message that I grabbed, and it's encouraging to our community. It's engaging with them. You're doing a great job, now get back out there. He said this on the week that Manny Pacquiao had his fight, and he's like, I feel like that boxing coach. You guys are out there during the week getting beat up by the world, and you come back, and I'm here coaching you and maybe smacking you in the face a little bit, but you're out there doing a great job. Now get back out there, and we'll see you next week. So that got a lot of response from our community, and the people that watched the message really understood where that came from, and the people that didn't, it was just a nice, encouraging post. This one down here at the bottom is from our 35th anniversary at Angels Stadium. It was so fun. We got to have a social media command center in one of the press boxes and just be live posting for all the people that assumed it would be live online and stayed home and weren't there. So we were kind of their only window into Angels Stadium. But here, Rick said, we will dare to love people unconditionally. Is it the most thought-provoking thing you've ever heard? Probably not, but it's encouraging, and so people can relate with that. And then the bottom right is not even on our social channels yet. It's one of our Father's Day posts. So for events and things that are happening in culture, you can get on board with that. I was going to post one of our May the 4th be with you, and Pastor Rick is posing with a kid in a Star Wars outfit from one of our Halloween events. And it's just cute, and we posted it on May the 4th. And yeah, nobody gets that here. Great, next slide. All right, and then teach is the second part of our social strategy, and that is educating people in our community with the great content from our teaching pastors. I always get asked, where do you come up with all this content? And I was like, I don't. It's so great. Pastor Rick does all the work on the weekend, and then I do all the curating of that content. And so I'm just sitting there on the weekend like you guys, taking notes, and I take extra notes of those like tweetable things that I hear. If your pastor speaks in stories, I'm really sorry. This is going to be really difficult for you. We have guest speakers who come, and I'm like, this is a rough week for social shares. But there's always some things you can glean and some lessons. But capture that content from the weekend. And Pastor Rick likes to say it's going to sink in a little more if people hear it twice. So those people who are moving from the crowd to the congregation have most likely heard it during the weekend, and we want to reinforce that during the week. And then the people that are in our community that might not have even heard it, we want them to hear it for a first time, and then we can direct them to where they can watch the rest of the message. So educating our community with our great content. So here are a few examples of that. And if your pastor doesn't come up with any good things for his message, you can grab stuff from the Bible. There's a whole resource for you of amazing content. Here are a few things. I like to do things that kind of like hit a nerve with people. It's kind of risky, but yeah. Pastor Rick said it, so I don't think I can get fired. Racism is not a skin issue, it's a sin issue. That's a good one. It's like, ooh, you're right. Posted that out, and we try to keep things in line with the branding for our series. So we just finished Daring Faith series this past weekend, so this was a pretty current one. On the top right is a Bible verse from 2 Corinthians 4:17. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. We were encouraging our community as they were praying about what they were going to give for our giving campaign, and seeing people in the community from one of our campuses is a great way to do that. If you have photography at your campus, utilize it. Social channels love photography from your campus. I look around at church channels and I barely see photography. So if you're stumbling upon Facebook pages looking for a church, and I'm like checking you out before I go, I'm gonna wanna see what my experience looks like. If I can't see that on your website and I can't see that on your social channels, that's really intimidating, and that's a barrier that might cause me not to come and attend. And that's just being honest. So post pictures. Down here, it's a baptism. It says anything is possible if you have faith. Bible verse. I didn't make it up. And then Rick's at the bottom. God is not moved by my complaints. He is moved by my faith. As a middle child complainer, that one really hit me. So if it hit me, it probably hit somebody else too. And our last part of our strategy is share. And that is just exposing the community to ministry opportunities. This is the kinder word for your marketing type posts, for those posts about Wednesday night dinner or the Friday night festival, whatever you have going on at your church. This is the third and final piece of our strategy. This is not the foot we lead with. These posts usually get the worst engagement. They get the least likes, the least comments, the least shares, and there's a reason for it. Each event is not for everyone. I don't care if there's a mommy event because I'm not a mom, so I'm not gonna interact with that. I don't care about a men's study because I'm not a man. So you're already segregating your audience, so you have to think about that. But these things are important, and the reason why we do connect, teach, and share, the connect and teach, is that so people can see the ministry opportunities that we have to offer. So remember, we wanna lead with how are we serving our community? You wanna serve them and meet their needs, and then they will care more about those ministry opportunities. Here are a few examples. Notice we try to use photography in our posts. Here's our class 101. This is the entry point into our church. Come and see Saddleback and learn about who we are. Bottom right is baptisms. Some of our campuses do it every weekend, so we just want to remind people, like if you're taking that step of faith, come and do that this weekend. And we work, my social team, we work really closely with our marketing team. And our marketing team knows this connect, teach, share strategy. They know that I only allow for 5 spots of marketing a week. But you're like, Haley, there's 7 days in a week. Yes, the other 2 were at church. So we're promoting to watch church online for Jay. We are. Watch live online. And so we reserve those days for church and focusing on that and getting people there. But during the week, those are the 5 spaces. So guess what? Those 5 spaces fill up really fast. People have to submit to have a spot at least a month in advance. So yeah, start making some boundaries. If you're curious about what our marketing calendar looks like, it's really fun. You can go to saddleback.com/weeps, WEAPS, and that's how our marketing department organizes all of the marketing requests that come in by communication channel. So they determine, our marketing team is the one determining which communication channel, a newsletter, a bulletin is a communication channel. We've divided Facebook and Twitter and Instagram up, and they determine which channel to post on. We don't have people anymore saying, I want something in the bulletin, because then we come back and say, oh, what are your goals for that? Who are you trying to reach? Maybe the bulletin is not your best option. So take control of your marketing and social. Connect, teach, and share, engaging with people, educating them, and exposing them to ministry opportunity. When Jesus met with the woman at the well, he engaged with her on a personal level. He went at noon, and she was there at noon when the other ladies were there in the morning. She was the outsider. So he knew that she would be there, and he knew how to speak with her. His first words to her were, can I have some water? He spoke in a language that she was familiar with. She was there to draw water. And then he educated her about a different kind of water that he had in his own Jesus way. And then he exposed her to ministry opportunity at the end of all of that. So connect, teach, share. You're welcome to use it, take it, see what it does for your channels. I would love to say that all of our Saddleback campuses do this beautifully, but they don't. So the ones that do have the highest engagement on their channels and are seeing the most return on investment. We do connect, teach, share every day. And the channels that focus more on the share or just the teach don't tend to see as great as engagement as they do if they do the whole part. So here are 5 things that you can do in the next 5 minutes that can help you out drastically. Identify a social media champion. I don't call them a manager, I call them a champion, because they're championing that Saddleback voice for their campus. They're championing that church voice. It's going to look a little differently in San Clemente, California, beach town, than it does in Corona, I guess Cowtown. Also, the church voice looks a little differently in Hong Kong than it does in Berlin. So they're speaking in the Saddleback voice, but contextualizing that for where they live. So identify someone that you feel is passionate about your church. Don't just look for the intern that is connected on a phone on social media and think that they know about your church and know enough to communicate on behalf of the voice of your church. I communicate to more people than the Weekend Bulletin does at all of our campuses. But we put more weight in the Weekend Bulletin. Why? Habits, I guess. So look for someone who's passionate about your church, who has some knowledge of social media, and can do a good job at communicating for you. Because a lot of this also is pastoral care. I get so many comments on there of people going through crisis that need help. So you need someone that's educated to know how to direct them to that. And also someone who knows what your church has to offer. Number 2, check for consistency across your channels. What is your simple thing like a bio? Is your bio different on Twitter than it is on Facebook, than it is on Instagram, than it is on Google Plus or YouTube? Look for consistency. When we go through a series, we try to have that same look on YouTube as we do on Twitter, as we do on Facebook, as we do on our Instagram channels. So look for consistency. Number 3, identify which channels are best for you. Kind of mentioned this earlier. Know who you're talking to and know where they are. So maybe Twitter is not your best option. That's okay. It's better to have an excellent presence on one channel than a mediocre one on 5. Number 4, follow back your followers. This is something I'm really passionate about on Twitter, and Instagram caps me off at 8,000, so I can't follow past that, which is really sad. But on Twitter, we have people all the time saying, oh my gosh, I'm so humbled that Saddleback followed me. And to me, it's like, yeah, of course we would. It's a conversation. We want to hear what you have to say. We don't want to just push messages to you. The way of push media is dead. Sorry, it is. Even TV is trying to get the conversation coming back through, like, look at American Idol and The Voice. They're like posting live tweets and hashtags, and they want people communicating. They're trying to break that barrier of just push. And you have to survive these days. So follow back your followers, show them that it is a conversation, that we value you. And I don't even know that if I had to say this, but I'm surprised through some conversations I have. Please unlink your Facebook to Twitter or Twitter to Facebook. This is the biggest rookie move ever. And if you want to be taken seriously, you won't do it. People are like, well, what's the problem? Well, okay, Saddleback Church is Saddleback in Hong Kong, just like it is in Berlin. But do they speak German in Hong Kong primarily? No, they speak two different languages. So you have to kind of look at social media platforms that way. Facebook is a different beast than Instagram is, even though they're now owned by the same people. It's still different, and they use different types of language on each platform. So know who's on there, know how to communicate to them, and I really strongly suggest not linking any of your channels together. Yeah, and I talk really fast, so I'm done. That's it.
We hope you enjoyed this message. Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Learn more at biola.edu.